I went to the careers advisor and said, I want to be an architect. And he's like, all right, what you need to do, it's physics, it's 2-unit maths, it's engineering, and it was something else. And I was like, oh.
Rude shock.
Yeah, hate all of those subjects. So I did all of those at the start, hated all of them, was flunking like the first, whatever it was, couple of terms. I was like, this
They're
is
serious subjects.
They are massive.
Physics is huge.
Physics. So then I switched and I went to like D&T and metalwork and woodwork and all that stuff I can make, design stuff and make with my hands. So I didn't actually get the marks to go to uni. So then I was a bit deflated, I suppose, after that. And then went on a pathway of, started like a construction carpentry apprenticeship. So I did a few years of that. Okay. And then found a pathway through TAFE into like architectural design, is what it was called then. I think it's changed, it's a building design diploma now.
Okay.
And did a couple of years of that. And then that got me into my pathway into architecture.
Welcome to Behind the Design, a podcast where we unfold the details behind the designs we know and love and explore how each project comes to life. I am Camilla Ingle, owner of Unfolded, an interior design and styling studio. In this podcast series, we dive into the details with our industry experts, covering topics such as the creative process, latest design trends, and how we, as an industry, work together to meet the brief and overcome challenges. Let the conversation begin. Brent, welcome to Behind the Design. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
I do. Well, I am part of the fabric architecture team as one of the directors. We are based here on Central Coast out of a Twin Bay little studio. It's me. That's our team.
That's the team. How many in your team?
There is currently 8 in our team. Yeah, and we are mixed from graduate architects to registered architects to interior designers, project managers, and a couple of drafties.
So that would be quite a collaborative environment then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, we have a round table meeting room for a purpose, and that's where a lot of our sort of discussions and ideas and things come up with early on. Yeah, it's very important, I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which bit?
The round table discussions, we call them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So anyone can sort of put up their hand at any sort of point of a project and be like, I feel like we need a little round table chat. Yeah, but it's part of that process, right? It's part of
Project.
the project. Yeah. You can get overwhelmed if you're just by yourself, and you just need sometimes just to bounce ideas off other people and get someone's fresh set of eyes on it.
And being, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but a creative, do you find that, if you are by yourself without that sort of collaborative team environment, you can get a bit stuck on executing ideas and bringing the project to life?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can get in your head about the brief as well sometimes, right? You're very stuck or you're very orientated, and once you start designing or drawing something, even sketching it, that's your vision, and then you get locked in on it. You sort of can't see the forest for the trees, as they say, right? And then sometimes it just needs someone else to go, why don't you just do this? And you go, oh, God.
I wish I thought of that.
Yeah, I wish I thought of that. Perfect.
But you wouldn't have by yourself.
No.
Yeah. No. So would you say that's part of your collaborative sort of creative process, is bringing everybody in at the brief stage, or how does that work?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very early on. We try and sit down and talk about the brief. So everyone's across it from early on, regardless of where their involvement might be. Whether it's interiors, they might come later, and then project managers come even further down the track when we're on site. But we sort of try and involve everyone, because you don't know everyone's thought process is different. Everyone's experience is different. So everyone's input's different. Yeah. So we come up with some pretty creative.
Bunch of creatives solutions. Just flying ideas.
Yeah.
That's good though. It sounds like good fun.
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't want to see some of the scribbles we come up with.
No. No one needs to see that.
No one needs to see it. No.
But that's exactly why we're here. That's what I want to talk about, is behind that design. How do you get to the scribble? Are you sitting down when you first meet with the client? Have they called you, because they love your work on your website, or how does it all sort of come about for you?
Yeah, generally it's either through word of mouth. That's obviously a massive one for most creatives. Yeah. Then they go to check out our Instagram, and then the website. We find it's in that order, and then they'll call, and then we have a bit of a chat with them, make sure we align on the vision and the brief and things like that, and their time frame. That's obviously key. Some people want to get started straight away, and we don't have capacity to do that. And then the first thing we actually do is bring them in to meet the team. After we have that initial chat, we actually bring them in sit them down at that round table and they meet all the team, because we think it's quite important that they meet all of us, because we're not at that stage. We don't know who will be working on it either. Like, we always have one of the directors lead the project, but we don't know who it'll be depending on capacity. So they kind of need to make sure that they like all of the team, because it could be, as you know, it's a long process.
It
right?
is.
It could be a 2 or 3 year journey.
Minimum sometimes. Yeah.
So you got to make sure you sort of
Get along.
Yeah, it's really important.
That's nice. And it's a nice soft introduction, really, for a client, isn't it? For them to, one, have that visual of your portfolio, see what you do, like what you do.
Yeah.
Because really the tastes have to align, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, there's certain people who might have a brief that come to you for something that doesn't align with how you put together your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And which is fine. Yeah.
That's also a really nice sort of creative boundary, isn't it? Of saying, I don't think I'm right for this, or I'm not the right fit here. But however, I do know of someone who might work really well with the brief that you're after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just important, we say, for them too, right? Like, we're happy to say no, and this is why. But I think the client should say that. You know, it's got to be a good fit for them.
Totally.
They're not vibing it.
Comfortable. That alignment is a big one.
Yeah. It is for us.
And so I guess, you know, one, as a team, but maybe even more personally, what sort of motivates you, inspires you? How do you do what you do? How do you come up with those ideas?
Well, I feel like that's two little separate questions, I suppose. What motivates me is probably different, in a sense that, and then how we come up with the ideas in that sort of motivation sense is probably a different answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start with motivation.
I think what motivates me, it's going to be a bit cliches, but it's definitely my family, right? That's the driving force, the reason we get up every day. I've got 2 little girls, so I think that, and the community around us, I think, is a big sort of driving factor in what we do. I think hopefully we are, you know, we're pretty ingrained in where we are now with our little studio, you know, and there's a little set of shops at Toowoomba that we're sort of a part of, which is quite nice. And good street. It is a nice street. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard in summer. Yeah. Everyone on holidays and walk up on the surfboards. Yeah. And you're like, oh.
And we were discussing the other day, weren't we, around, do you get any walk-ins? Because you're, you know, shop front essentially.
Yeah. We do. And that's sort of part of that process of, you know, why we're there and what we do. And we might not always align with what they walk in for, but we always help. Like the other week we had a lady from down the road, and she popped in, and she was midway through construction, and she's like, oh, we're really not liking the design of where it's at. And we're like, well, how did you get to where you're at, for one, and not really know what you're getting or like it? And we said, look, we'll come down and have a chat and see if we can offer some guidance, but up front we can't take on the project because we have like a 6 months wait time where we're busy. So that's fine. So
I'm happy to look at it.
We'll come down. So we all went down for a little walk and saw what she was doing. And then we sort of threw around some ideas, and then she was sketching things on the wall. She's like, oh, we'll knock out this wall that was going, and then this, and we're opening up stuff. She's like, that just changes everything. Again, it's that fresh set of eyes, right? Come in and go, why don't you just do this? And she was like, perfect. And that just resolved all of her fears, I suppose, she had of the design. And then we didn't ask anything for it. We're like, that's, you know, good luck. Yeah. How you go, sort of thing. And then she ended up putting like $100, $150, little tab on the opposite flower and go.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. Kind of went in there one day and they're like, someone dropped in, you know, started a tab for you. We're like, what?
That's nice though. That is that community kind of vibe, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so then moving into inspiration, how do you find inspiration for your projects? Is it something that you find you like to do as soon as you've received the brief? What's that process for you?
Our briefing process is quite long, I guess, for us. So we start off with fairly generic briefing doc that we'll send the client, and it's a bit about, we want to understand about them and their family and their pets, and we ask all those kind of questions, and who's going to live in the house.
It's like functional, practical, all those types of needs.
How do you spend your evenings? You know, do you like to party, or do you like to unwind by the TV? So
entertaining, big kitchen island bench.
It's those little grabs, and people are like, why are we answering this? I'm like, well, it's these little things that we're starting to look at.
This will dictate the design of the home.
Dictate what we go down, yeah. And so that's kind of the initial thing. And then we sort of start that whole Pinterest page, and we share that with them and try and get some inspiration together that we feel is where we're spoken about. And then once we have that, then we do a reverse brief back to them, which outlines a bit more about the accommodation and the size of it. It'll outline some of those Pinterest images that we might have found, or those inspiration images that we kind of align with. And then
do you find, just to jump in,
Yeah.
that they have quite a strict brief? How do you find that? You know, like we find that some clients are, hey, I'm really happy for you to direct us. These are the colours I like. These are my needs, etc.
Yeah.
Full stop. Some are pretty much already got their Pinterest board ready.
Yeah.
They've done a mini mood board.
Yeah.
They've got some floor plans that, you know,
Yeah.
quite invested.
Yeah.
How do you, like, what do you find your...
I would say there's less. We're lucky that there's probably less of those clients. We do have a few that are already, all over it.
Quite thorough.
Quite thorough. They'll have their mood board or their Pinterest board, and that'll be broken down into all the subcategories, and it's very detailed
Yeah.
already before they might even come to
Yeah.
us, which is great. It means they've been thinking about it for a long time.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
No.
And then we just have to go through, even with those sort of clients, we sit down and go, okay, what are we looking at with each image? Because, you know what it's like, probably we're looking at a kitchen. Oh, are we just looking at the cupboard colour or the joinery piece? Are we looking at the shape of the island?
Yes.
The whole thing as a mood?
Yeah.
Because we all might be looking at something that they're not looking at all.
Totally.
Yeah. So,
Well, it's from your experience, right? That
Yeah.
you're looking at things with that different architectural eye
Yeah.
versus what they've seen in Belle magazine.
yeah, that's right. Why
Yeah.
they've saved it.
And on that note of, you know, taking images from Pinterest, Belle magazine, The Block, all those references that we all get
Yeah.
when we're doing our design, how do you find when someone says, oh, you know, I literally just want this. Please deliver on this.
Yeah. It's tricky.
How do
isn't
you
it?
get around that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is tricky.
Yeah. We sort of guide them that, you know, we're creating something unique for them and for the site and for their brief. So we can take references from that or inspiration from that, but it generally won't work out exactly the same. You know, it's
Yeah.
not the same house. It's not the same
Proportions,
it's not the same
scale,
proportions. It's not
budget.
Yeah, but yeah,
so many
all
things.
those factors, right?
Yeah.
So
But it is nice to keep it custom, isn't it? Because it's
Yeah.
special
yeah,
for them.
yeah,
And with the, you know, working with the interior designer and the architect sort of situation, I feel like it's nice to have that collaboration on when the plans have been drawn up. There's a few little things that still need to be done. We come in, collaborate with you on that
Yeah.
design,
Yeah.
really get that flow happening.
yeah,
And that not only creates that practicality in the space or the function in the space, but also, like we just said, all those beautiful images sort of come together to create their own design.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. That's why I suppose we have that full service architecture, which I don't think many firms do, especially on the coast.
Oh, no.
But it's important to us. Like
Yeah.
the interiors add so much to a build. Like if you, as you know, right, if you're,
Huge.
I don't know how people go out to tender or anything like that with a build and not have any of the interiors
It's
thought
so
about,
common.
selected,
Yeah.
specified, right?
Yep.
You don't want your builder ringing you up and going, I need the tap to next week. You're like, oh, I haven't even looked at taps.
Yeah.
Like, well,
It's not
where's
completed.
you put the plumbing? Is it coming out of the floor? Is it
Yeah.
coming out of the wall? How's it going when
Literally.
it's done?
Are we doing a wall hung vanity?
Yeah.
Do I need to put, you know,
Yeah.
backing into that wall to make sure that it can hang on that wall? Yeah.
Blows my mind that people just
I know.
think they can just get some plans drawn and then go to town on it.
But that's, you know, that's also, again, why I love the idea of talking about behind the design.
Yeah.
Because some people don't know what you and I know.
yeah,
And they think, oh, I've got my architectural plans drawn up. I've got my architect.
we're
I
done.
just need to build it out.
Yeah,
So much that hasn't been done.
so much more.
Hasn't been looked at. Show me an elevation of your bathroom.
Yeah.
Where's the tub?
Yeah,
Do you like where the tub is?
yeah.
You know,
Your door handles.
the door handles, the hardware. It's important.
Yeah.
How are those tiles laid?
Yes.
Horizontal or vertical?
Yeah, these are the questions that will come up.
These are the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does matter.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a massive difference.
Yeah.
And even just streamlines the build process too, right? Yeah.
Then everyone's clear. When those drawings are clear and that design's clear, the builder knows what he needs to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're sort of lessening that room for error, aren't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. There's still a lot that he has to work out. Like there's not taking anything away from the builders, right? They're still magicians of what they do to pull
Yeah.
it all together.
And project managers and
Yeah.
all the other
Yeah.
things.
So yeah, it's just that one less thing they have to worry about, I think.
Totally.
Not one. A million.
Couple,
A
yeah.
million more things have to-
1 million. And so have you had many nightmare projects? Or are yours all pretty seamless?
No, there's a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some hard ones that we've had to walk away from for various reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It happens, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, it can get too much sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a long process. Like we're involved in most projects for 2, 3, 4 years, depending. Council doesn't help. We can take an extra year with council. So by the time you get to it, we can get quite burnt out by the time we're even on site.
Yeah.
So can the client, right?
Yep.
And that's when all the financial issues raise their little heads, because then you're going to start forking out all these big progress claims.
And even things, you know, I was thinking earlier around the relationship that I've got with an architect for an Edelong project here on the coast as well. You know, we've been working on this job. It's quite a big scale project, 600 square metre block. And we've been working on the job for about 2.5 years. And we're now ready to source everything, and some things are discontinued.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, you know, the clients approved everything and they're super happy with how it all looks, and now we're substituting everything out.
Yeah. And they get paid for that too, right? It's like generally
Time spent redoing it all.
Redo it. You're effectively redoing your whole schedule again.
That's it.
And generally we'll probably absorb that. I don't know how you would go, but you just
tend to.
the project. Yeah. Most designers I think would.
Yeah.
Which is a massive...
It's just the reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you always see yourself as becoming an architect, running your own business, building this brand?
Yeah, I reckon the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. I think because Dad was always in the industry, so I was always on site from a young age. I spent a lot of time on site, and then
He was an architect?
No, he was a builder. Okay. So I remember going when I was, when you're sick at school, he was still working, so you'd grab a sleeping bag and then you'd be on site while he was working away. Yeah.
Wow. So you were in the heat of it.
Yeah. And the boys are still building walls and chip rocking whatever they're doing. And then that was in New Zealand, and then when we moved back out to Australia, he sort of worked as a foreman. He sort of built like a lot of RPA when they did all those big renovations down there. And I remember he came home with all these the big A1 or AO sort of sheets of all the consultants. And I do remember sort of like I was probably year 9 or 10 flicking through all those going, oh my God, it's like, how do they do this? How do they get... Huge. I think I was already invested in it. I loved looking at it. Yes. You spend hours just sort of going through these drawings.
Yeah.
And
the detail.
The detail. Yeah. Yeah. For something like that, a project of that scale.
Yeah.
And all these different consultants you'd have. And so I clearly remember sort of going through all those drawings when he would bring them home. And that would probably, I think that sort of... influencing it.
Yeah.
And then when you got to year 10, you had to do your year 11 and 12 kind of pick. Yeah. You'd ask the careers advisor, what do you want to do? And it was architect from then. And then that sort of started me off the pathway.
So did you finish school in year 10 and go straight in?
No. I did year 11 and 12.
Yeah.
But I went to the careers advisor and said, I want to be an architect. And he's like, all right, what you need to do, it's physics, it's 2-unit maths, it's engineering, and it was something else. And I was like, oh.
Rude shock.
Yeah, I hate all of those subjects.
No drama?
I did it, no drama. No drama, no woodwork, no woodwork. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
So I did all of those at the start, hated all of them, was flunking like the first, whenever it was, couple of terms. I was like,
They're serious subjects.
They are massive.
Physics is huge.
Yeah, physics, it's credit to you if you've done it, but not for me.
Not for me.
No. So then I switched and I went to like D&T and metalwork and woodwork and all that stuff I can design stuff and make with my hands.
Yeah.
Which fortunately it ranks a lot lower back then. So I didn't actually get the marks to go to uni. So then I was a bit deflated, I suppose, after that. And then went on a pathway I started like a construction carpentry apprenticeship. So I did a few years of that. Okay. And then found a pathway through TAFE into like architectural design. Is what it was called then. I think it's changed. It's a building design diploma now.
Okay.
And did a couple of years of that. And then that got me into my pathway into architecture. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many years now?
Oh, God. Well, I think I've been running the business since 2011. Yeah, I've been on my own. But before that, I was working for a few different architect firms, either in Sydney or in London.
Was it very different to what we do here, like systems, processes, approach?
Yes, I think it was just for the firm that I worked at. They were a heritage-based architect firm, which is probably most of London, right?
Yeah.
And the whole time I was there, I only worked on one house. It was like, I think it was like a $30 million or £30 million renovation back then. So big, big estate out in Oxfordshire. We were just
thick pages of drawings,
just constantly drawing, constantly going to site. They were already on site as we were detailing and still working out.
Cool experience.
Really cool.
For you, yeah.
Really cool. Massive, yeah. Because here we would design some windows and then we'll go to wall spec or to Trosca or something, and then that would, detail them and put them in. But over there, they would design every element of a window. I can still remember it because you'd have to go to a different architect for a different period because this house was built over all these different centuries.
Yes.
They had specialist architects from different eras, and you'd have to go to that special guy to work out the radius of the mullion in the window for that Georgian style of house. And then when we got to the Victorian style, you have to do the same thing again with the other guy. And it was
So
just
important.
blowing my mind, yeah.
Yeah.
And they knew it. They knew every little detail. They didn't have to look it up. They were like, no, the radius is for that kind of window is this. And you're like,
That's that sense of specialising in something, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're a specialist in what you do.
Yeah.
You know, people sort of get surprised by the detail that you might know, but you're thinking, this is all I do.
that's all we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely come back with me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's so important for young people coming out of uni, if you can, have that year or two overseas,
Yeah.
especially if you're really sure of the trade or industry or business that you want to work in. If you can go and have that experience, like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
can't put a dollar value on that. It's so good.
Yeah. Or just find a good mentor, right? Whether it is overseas or whether it's here, and you got to do the time. You can't just get out, especially with architecture, right? Once you leave architecture, you're not an architect.
No.
You know, there's so many more years.
Right down the bottom.
Books before you even become registered.
Totally.
So yeah, I think it's that long, hard gripe that you just need to find a mentor, find someone that you trust, learn from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's in a small or medium-sized business, even better, I feel, because then you'll see all aspects of a business. Yeah.
And it is having a mentor. I've got a business coach / mentor. Yeah, she's brilliant. And it is really important and beneficial when you are starting out by yourself, you know, from day one, which I've got a small team, but you're a lot more progressed than me. But essentially, when you want to bounce those ideas, or you want someone who's got a bit of knowledge outside of the industry too, that can kind of help you with not only industry, but business.
Yeah.
Because what we do isn't just creative.
No.
You're running an entire show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not taught that.
No. Architecture degrees do not teach you that. No. Interior design degrees do not teach you accounting.
Yeah.
Or, you know, client management.
Yeah. That's learnt on the job.
That is learn on the job.
Yeah.
And being, you know, having that integrity with clients and making sure you're doing the right thing at all times. Like, you can't learn that other than experiencing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Agree.
And having it as a value of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we understand where we're located too, right? The Central Coast is even though it's a big area, right? It stretches from
expansive,
you know, the Hawkesbury down up to Lake Mac. So it's a massive area.
Yeah.
But everyone knows each other. And everyone talks.
Yep.
Builders talk.
Yep.
Consultants will talk. Clients will talk.
Yeah.
So it's very valuable to be able to know how to, if something does go wrong, how to mend those relationships. You know, sit down with the client, sit down with the builder.
Yeah. Prevent if you can.
Or prevent, even better. Sometimes it's too late. Sometimes it's not. But we've had some projects that we feel like we've walked away from for whatever reason, but we've still gone and mended those relationships at the end.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's having that sort of maturity as well, you know, as a business to say, all right, how can we make sure that our reputation doesn't get affected by things that may have been out of our control as well. So you work across residential, commercial and hospitality?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The commercial is probably a smaller side. Definitely the resi and the hospitality are probably the two biggest sectors.
Yeah. And any favourites to date?
Lots of favourites.
Oh, good.
Lots of favourites. But if I had to pick one, I would be very selfish and talk about my house.
Oh.
I think is a favourite one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mainly because it's my house, right?
Yeah.
But
no. Is it your sort of tastes and all the things you love into?
You learn a lot when you do your own home.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think from that early stage of even when we started talking about doing something, you know, and you'd go through all my, like, the favourite architects that you like. And you go, but then you go, well, actually, if that was my house and I had to live in it, I don't really actually want that.
Yeah, interesting.
These people, you know, I love what they do. But then when you actually sort of take a step back and really think, is that for me and my family? I don't know.
And isn't that a perfect case scenario of where people can look at the pretty pictures and go, oh, I'd love that. But to live there, is it really going to suit my needs? Yeah.
No.
Interesting.
That's it. You really got to take a step back. And that's what we're trying to talk clients through, which is really hard for someone that hasn't done this before either. But we're used to sort of looking at plans and looking at 2Ds or even 3Ds, and we know
Yes.
how it's going to feel.
Totally. We can visualize.
We can visualize
Yeah.
it, right? And
Yeah.
we always sort of say, like, take these now, take a couple of weeks and just really try and focus on how you and your family will live in that space.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But you got to pretend of, okay, well, if I'm cooking in the kitchen, where are the kids?
Yes.
Is the bedroom's big enough? Where are they going to study when
Do
they're
I want?
year 12?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
all
Do
these
I
little
need
things.
desks in all their
Do we need
rooms?
desks, or are they going to study outside so you can see them?
Where is 100%? Where is the natural lighting coming from? Where should our windows be?
Yeah.
Do we want doors there instead?
Yes.
And it's, one thing that I've found that's become quite common, particularly in new builds, but renovation space as well, is when people say, oh, is there any way to open up that space, is one of the biggest one-liners, but open up that space so that we can have that indoor-outdoor flow.
Yeah.
And so half the time we're recreating the deck and the timber flooring to have that seamless sliding door in that really low cavity, that really beautiful. So it's things like that that you want to know their brief so that you can say to them, this is the solution to what you're after. Indoor, outdoor entertaining, here's an idea for you.
Yeah. And then understanding why they want that too, right?
Totally.
And they've got a young family and they just, there's so many of those 50s homes where they're so isolated in the kitchen and you can't see any other room or the backyard or anything.
Yeah, it's really dark and
really
no
dark.
storage, no butler's pantry.
So is it just by opening it up and then we get to see the backyard? Does that help, or do we need to move the kitchen?
Totally.
So we can see the backyard. Is that the priority? So it's really trying to understand what's driving that sentence of like, can we open it up? Yeah, we can open it up, but why? I think that's also important to delve into.
Yeah.
Which is why it takes us longer to do a project, right? I think if you went to other people and they just said, this is what I want, they'd give you that. But there's no question on why and is it right for you and the family.
Yes.
Where if you come to an architect or an interior designer, I think that's the difference, right? We're gonna hone in on those little things. It's like, why are we doing it?
And it's interesting because those conversations at the start can be quite, you'll notice that they'll be like, oh, okay. They're kind of looking at you like, we've spent 20 minutes talking about this, but you're thinking, just trust me.
Yeah.
We need this 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I need to understand everything that you're saying so that I can create the design that's going to be a solution for your needing.
100%.
Yeah. And be aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. Yes. Easy.
Easy. But it takes time.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And so a few tips and tricks for potential clients. What do you say? I mean, I feel like you've shared a couple there, but...
Always do your research. I think that's a big one.
Yeah. Elaborate on research. What does that mean?
I would say you might follow a lot of architects and interior designers that you like, but then go one further and go and interview with them or have a chat with all of them. Because like I said earlier, you need to sort of gel with that team or that person, right? You need to be able to get along with them. You might not. It might not be your flavour. So then I think that's a key one. Do your research and interview as many people as you can before you sort of are commissioning. Because we have a thing in the office, like it's called a fee proposal, right? For a reason. It's a proposal. Like it's like an engagement. Right? We're getting engaged for the next 3-4 years. We're not going anywhere.
No.
It's like a wedding, right? We're getting up for that wedding.
We will be working together throughout that whole time, quite closely.
Quite closely, yeah. Sometimes we'll speak every couple of days.
Yep.
So make sure you like that person.
That's it.
I think that's
Get along.
Yeah, get along. I think trust your gut, I think, is always a good one too, right? You know straight away whether it doesn't feel
Intuition.
right. Intuition.
Big one.
Yeah.
And often we can get caught up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I feel we can get caught up in, that's a really beautiful job. I really want to get it. I really want to work with this person. And intuition can go out the window. Versus, hang on a minute. I'm just going to take a breather.
Yeah.
This is something I've been wanting to do for a while.
Yeah.
Is it right for me? Even though on paper it looks the part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really fine-tuning that process.
I think that's part of it too, right? Don't rush into it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
And don't think just because you're ready, everyone else will be too.
Yes.
Which is a bit rude in a way to say, but you might have been thinking about this for a couple of months or a couple of years, but then everyone else, I know we have like a long sort of lead time before we start a new project, so you need to do that time to sort of get engaged and then do that briefing process as well. That takes a long time.
Yeah, have that conversation. Yeah.
Be ready.
And I think the more sort of, transparent that conversation is, the better it is for everybody. Like I find clients actually appreciate when I'm honest with them about longer lead times.
Yeah.
Or, that stone isn't in your budget, but let's go for something like this. But if you do go for the porcelain, it is a bit of a different look.
Yeah.
As long as maybe pop down to the showroom, have a little look, meet with my supplier, being really transparent about it all.
We just also make it look good.
Also make it look good. Exactly. Yeah, you've got to sort of give them that confidence.
Yeah, I think that's key. Be honest with them.
Yeah.
As vice versa, right? They've got to be honest with us.
100%.
Even about the budget, I think we always harp on about from day dot.
Yeah.
And some people don't know what their budget is, and that's fine.
Yes.
But
it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard because like everything we do, especially at those early stages, is guided by some sort of budget or monetary figure.
Yeah.
So if you say you've only got $1 million, that's fine. That's what we kind of designed to.
Yeah.
But if you really think, I could spend 5 on this house, that's also fine. But it totally changes the way we look at
5 million or 500,000?
5 million.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just checking.
Yeah. Or 500,000.
Yeah.
If you don't have $1 million and you've only got 500 and you can't get that extra.
Either way.
That's just as important.
Yeah.
You need to know, is it a dead, clear, fixed budget?
Yeah.
Is it flexible? Because, it judges everything we do early on. And we might have some really strong concepts early on. But then sometimes if it's like you push and pull these ideas so far out, it doesn't become what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You lose any of those last little details that were starting to appear.
That's it.
And
that's when you're fine-tuning to budgets.
Yeah.
The reality.
Yeah.
So before we jump into the final question, how can people find you?
As I said earlier, they can pop into our little studio at Toowoomba Bay, always open for a coffee and a chat. Otherwise, they can find us on Instagram at fabric_architecture or our website, fabricarchitecture.com.au.
It's fabric with a C?
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
with a C.
Great.
Yeah.
Right, so something a bit fun and interesting I wanted to end on. A little bit of a fun question.
Yep.
If you could swap lives with someone for a day, who would it be and what would you do?
Okay. I'm going to just go out there, and this is because it probably comes straight to mind. It would be I'll swap with a singer
Yeah.
out of a band.
Okay.
Do I have to name the band?
You have to do it all.
Okay. All right.
Who is it?
I'd say like Mark Hoppus out of Blink.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recent tour.
I just recently went and saw them. They're massive fan of them.
Yeah.
And then now I'm following them, and they're all around the world. I was like, I wonder what that would be like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it as glamorous as it looks? Jumping on these private jets everywhere, but then they're playing the same set every night, kind of thing. Different.
True.
crowd.
Is it on repeat?
Is it on repeat?
Or
I
is
don't
it
know.
good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's a different crowd every night. So is it just?
True.
I don't know.
Bit of variety.
Bit of variety.
Well, that's a fun one.
Yeah. Love to do that. Just for a week. Then I might get over it.
Really. Then back to architecture.
Yeah. Then back to my life. Toowoomba Bay.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, Brent.
Thank you for having me. Loved it.